Maybe you're new to the gym, new to lifting weights, new to training, all of this exercise, lifting weights, malarkey, and you're wondering, okay, how many times a week should I be doing this? I want to do a very concise video on how much you should do to actually get really good results. And it's not an answer you may think I am going to say to you. And I actually want to start off by, okay, what is muscle building? How do I build muscle? Now, think of your muscle cells like having something called molecular machines. And these molecular machines are there to essentially detect when there's tension and stretch, or when there's tension and stress and stretch. Tension, stress, and stretch in a very concise way. When they detect that, oh, this person is using their bicep here, what they do then is send signals to other areas of the muscle and say, hey, come over here, something's happening which hasn't happened before. Let's say you're new to lifting weights. So they tell everyone else in the muscle that something is happening, that is you lifting weights. And boom, that's where the start of muscle building begins. Then from there, when you've done your training, when you've lifted weights, and I'm going to get on to how long you should or can think about doing. After that, the training is simply there to start the process. And that's the key word, start. Because training is catabolic. Catabolic essentially means break down. So essentially you're creating little micro tears in your muscles. They are breaking down the tissue, breaking down the cells, breaking down. Think of catabolic as breakdown. Now, to build muscle back up, you need to focus on everything else now outside of the training. The training's done. Boom, you've broken down the muscle. Now, how do you build it back up? This is where you manage your stress. This is where you eat nutritious food, plenty of protein. This is where you get to bed on time. This is where you rest. This is where you do active recovery, so exercises outside of the scope of gym training and lifting weights. That is known as anabolic. That is building up. Essentially regeneration, building up your muscles. So in a nutshell, that is, let's say, a very simplified version of how we're going to go about building muscle. Now, just to give you a brief caveat or something to think about, as we age, there is something called anabolic resistance, which is essentially the signal to build muscle is kind of degrading, or it is becoming more mute. Now, this doesn't mean that this happens for forever and that's it. I can never build muscle. No. It's just if you don't lift weights, that anabolic resistance will creep in and the ability to build muscle will become less realistic, so if you don't lift weights, that anabolic resistance will be greater and the signal to build muscle is going to become harder and harder. That's a better way of putting it. But what can we do? We can lift weights, we can do resistance training. And now this brings me on to, okay, well, how much do I need to get these benefits? If you've never lifted weights before, or let's say you've dabbled in it a little bit, but let's say you're pretty new to it. I tell you what I've seen. I've seen people who had never trained before came to me when they were 60, 70. I've even had John, who was in his 80s when he first came to me. And I just said, look, let's focus on once a week, we resistance train for 20 to 30 minutes outside of my session. And they're like, wait, come on, 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, is that it? I can do more. Honestly, let's focus on that for now. Because go back to what I said, the molecular machines, if they've never detected a signal, they're very, very respondent to that. It's like imagine they're sleeping, they're whoa, what's happening? Someone's lifting weights. Whoa, come. So they're very responsive. This is why if you're new, you tend to see gains pretty quickly. And this is why I teach on my app and teach you little movements and simple movements, which you may look and think, is that actually going to do anything? It is. Trust me. Because if you haven't done much before, the signal to build muscle is going to be in your favor. It's going to say, hey, okay, let's go. I'm ready. So honestly, if you haven't moved before, you haven't lifted weights, and you're doubting that you'll ever be able to build muscle, let's say you're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and so on. Honestly, 20 minutes a week to start, just to start, you're going to see incredible results. So let's just start with that, okay? 20 to 30 minutes. And what this does as well, it actually builds the commitment and it builds the consistency in your mind then, right? It says, oh, okay, this is happening now, right? We've been doing this for about 3 weeks, 20 to 30 minutes. Okay. The brain says, so you want to be this type of person? Okay, let's start ingraining that as a habit. Then you build on that. Now, I do want to say, once you get used to that 20 to 30 minutes once a week, moving to 2 a week is the difference is pretty substantial in terms of the gains and the results and the building muscle response. This is the context of today's video. So if you can get to the point of now 2 times a week, 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, the response of building muscle really is quite substantial. But again, starting with 1, beautiful. Get consistent with that. Then over the next few weeks, as you build the consistency and the discipline of that 1 session, now let's add another one. And then over, 3 months, we can add a 3rd day. But now the difference, so the margin between 1 to 2, 2 to 3, is less responsive, if that makes sense. So 1 to 2 times, that's a big difference that your muscles will see. The frequency, I mean. 2 to 3, yeah, there's going to be a difference, but it's not going to be as great as 1 to 2. And then when we're talking 3 to 4, the difference in what I've seen personally, and there is research to show this, that the difference becomes less so. Which is why, there's a lot of recommendation that, just do 2 to 3 times a week and you're going to see great results. So just to concise everything I've said, if you can do once a week, if you've never, let's say you've never exercised, you've never done lifting weights, once a week, 20 to 30 minutes, boom, pick a day, stick to that day, be consistent. Then as the weeks go by, see if you can add 2 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes to start. And the time frame, we can always increase that. But as I always teach, let's incrementally do this as opposed to 7 days a week, 1 hour a day. It's not going to happen. And the body doesn't need it. The body doesn't need it. So once a week, moving up to 2 when you're ready, when you build the consistency, and then 3 in the future, let's say in 2 to 3 months, even 6 months. But honestly, if you can just start with 20 to 30 minutes a week, fantastic. That's such a great spot. Trust me. And you will see good results. So I just wanted to hopefully provide you a bit of hope and less pressure to think that you have to do so much, that you have to spend hours out of your day to see results in your muscles or see muscle growth. You don't. You really don't. And hopefully after this video, you go away like, okay, I feel like I can do that. I am ready to do that, and I can commit to that. Boom. Then let's start there. Okay? If you have any questions on this, I am always open to replying to comments. And yeah, any confusion, if I didn't explain something well enough, or you want me to speak a bit deeper about something, or the what's, the hows, the whys, leave them in the comments, and I do try and get back to you as soon as possible. So thanks for your time. I really hope that was helpful, and especially good and helpful for those who may be just lifting weights for the first time and you want to get a little understanding of how much should I do in the week.